SummerSlam 1995. Oh, Jesus. Oh, man. Now we're getting into the really shitty ones, if you don't. Well, this one, I wouldn't say we're getting into the shitty ones. I'd say this one is probably the shittiest of all of them. In my opinion, it's the worst SummerSlam of all time. But there were a few good things I could say that happened. Triple H made his pay-per-view debut. I guess. That's cool. Barry Horowitz won a match, if you're into that sort of thing. The artist formerly known as Big Daddy V / Viscera had a title match. And the Bret Hart, Jerry Lawler, and Undertaker $1 Million Corporation feuds once again raged on at SummerSlam 1995. A bizarre, weird, bad, strange pay-per-view, to say the very least, took place in August of 1995. We start things out with a backstage promo as former ECW champion Shane Douglas, or he's referred to now as Dean Douglas, is in his classroom and tells us how superior he is intellectually to everyone else, like we freaking needed to know that. From there, it's time to go. Yeah, first match of the night. With that, yeah, blah, blah, blah. That brings us to the first match of the night. There we go. With the 1-2-3 Kid taking on Hakushi. And I'll be real honest here and say I have no idea what the backstory is for this one, nor did I care, because it was a very entertaining opener, to say the very least. Hakushi won the match in a very nice back and forth matchup. Next up, we get Doc Hendricks interviewing King Mabel. I'd comment further, except I couldn't really understand a word either of them were saying. Okay, now it's time for Triple H to make his pay-per-view debut, or as he was known back in the day as the Rich Snob, Hunter Hearst Helmsley, making his debut against Bob Sparkplug Holly. Sparkplug. I wasn't a pretty big. I like Sparkplug back in the day. I'm not gonna lie, I like Sparkplug. But either way, Hunter Hearst Helmsley picks up the decisive victory in a short match, which is passable if you count it as passable. I don't know. This is followed by some tag team action. Woohoo! As the Smoking Guns, Billy and Bart Gunn, took on the Blue Brothers, Jacob and Eli. This was another short nothing match won by the Smoking Guns, and I'm not gonna lie, Bart and Billy Gunn were a pretty decent tag team back in the day. This was followed by a grudge match between Barry Horowitz and Skip. Yeah, Skip, aka Chris Candido, rest in peace. The story here is that Horowitz had never won a match in his very long WWE career, but this led up to SummerSlam 1995. He had capitalized on a distraction to pin Skip, and Skip, humiliated, sought revenge here and didn't get it. And Skip did a good job of playing the arrogant jerk. Horowitz did a good job of looking like an underdog, and this was probably the best match we had seen so far, all night. But don't get too happy, because now we're back in Dean Douglas's classroom, and he's explaining why Skip just lost. Why the hell do we need this? I don't know. That brings us to another short match with limited build, as Alundra Blaze defends her women's championship against... Oh, Jesus. Defends her title against Bertha Faye. Oh, God. Sometime around now, sometime afterwards, Alundra Blaze went to rival promotion WCW, took the women's title with her, threw it in the trash, and I guess the WWE left it there for a while. But either way, Bertha Faye won the match, and she won the women's title. Okay, now we get to see The Undertaker extract revenge on the $1 Million Corporation again, and more specifically, Kama Mustafa. Undertaker had spent the early part of the year feuding with various members of the Million Dollar Corporation, but at WrestleMania, Mustafa had stolen the Undertaker's urn. Since then, he melted the urn down and is now wearing it as a gold chain necklace. And this was a casket match, to say the very least. It was a fun casket match. The Undertaker kicked Kama's ass. It wasn't a technical masterpiece, but who cares, really? That brings us to next up. It was time for Bret Hart to continue his rivalry with Jerry the King Lawler, where he took on Lawler's evil dentist, Isaac Yankem DDS, who would later go on to become Kane. They have a pretty long match for what it is. Lawler interferes, and Bret Hart wins by disqualification after Lawler pulled him by the hair and then makes sure his head was caught in between the ropes. Hart was knocked out by the assault and needed some assistance to the back, and this match wasn't that bad at all. This brings us to the match of the night, and probably one of the best matches of SummerSlam of all time, in my opinion, as Razor Ramon puts up his Intercontinental Championship against Shawn Michaels in a ladder match. Or Shawn Michaels puts his Intercontinental title on the line in a ladder match. The build-up was pretty honest build-up here. I mean, they had a match at WrestleMania 10, which was a year and a half before, and they have a rematch here. And why not have another one? So Shawn Michaels goes on to win, though he seemed to have getting trouble getting the belts down a few times. But ultimately he got the win, and this match was freaking awesome. This is probably the best match of the night. Which brings us to the main event, which saw Big Daddy Cool Diesel defending his WWF Championship against King Mabel, and this match sucked to high heaven. These guys had no chemistry at all, sloppy altogether. Yeah, it was just very sloppy match. Don't ever see it if you... No, just don't. Diesel retains. So there you have it. Some good matches, some bad matches, some average, and overall a strange night. Definitely, in my opinion, I think this is the worst SummerSlam of all time. Out of 10, I'm going to give SummerSlam 1995 a 1.5 out of 10. Best match of the night, hands down, is the ladder match for the Intercontinental title. And the worst match, King Mabel versus Diesel for the WWF Championship. That's SummerSlam 1995. Coming up next, 1996.